folks, I couldn't resist. Super Coon, obviously it was on Fox. Check this one out.
Donald Trump gets elected president of the United States, his appeal to the black community is going to mean, to me anyway, it's going to mean that he's going to be the best thing that has happened to the black community since Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
That was controversial Milwaukee County Sheriff and Donald Trump supporter David Clark on Fox News on Friday. Clark also said that Trump is winning, wait for it, 20% of African-American voters, according to a poll. Very authoritative. I want my panel to weigh in. Michelle, Karina, and Jamal are back. And joining the fun and festivities, Jonathan Capehart of the Washington Post. Now, I know some of you guys are having some trouble hearing, so I'm just going to read to you again what David Clark says. I can't read it in his affect because I don't think that I can get that whole thing going, but I'm going to just read it to you. He says, look, if Donald Trump gets elected as president of the United States, his appeal to the black community is going to mean, to me anyway, it's going to mean he's going to be the best thing that has happened to the community, the black community, since Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Super Coon at it again. You just can't make this kind of crap up. Super Coon, I would say God bless him, but I can't because I can't wait for him to leave here. But Super Coon is the guy that they trot out every time they need to show a black face, pretty much.
Wow.
Other than child, please? Come on. What were you going to say, Corinne? Because I've got nothing on that.
All I can say is this is the guy this past week that got the endorsement of the KKK newspaper, right?
Trump, not David Clark.
Trump, I'm sorry, Trump, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which is what I meant. But so this is who we're talking about, right? Trump, who gets this
endorsement. If we were talking about David Clark, it would be the guy who had somebody die of thirst in his jail. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Just to keep
just to take this on a little bit of a serious note here, it's okay. So this is Donald Trump has taken the alt-right, right? The alt-right, which is supported by the white nationalists, the white supremacists, which has given the rebirth to the KKK.
The alt-right is the white nationalist and the white supremacist. Okay, so they are one and the same. So we need to correct that piece.
Put that into his campaign, normalized it, and made it part of one of our two important parties, right? This is the guy that we're talking about, who now is saying he's going to get 20%. This is his David Clark is saying Donald Trump is okay.
Sheriff, I just want to make sure that we're.
But it sort of makes me wonder. Do you wonder? I keep looking at David Clark. I've been fascinated with him since the Republican convention, and I wonder, does he think he's white? Is that the problem? Does he not see the shade of his kid? I mean, this is the man who tweeted, "It's pitchforks and torches time."
Correct.
Was he asking for violence against people who look like him?
And he has a badge and a gun. And by the way, gets elected in Milwaukee County, Jamal, as a Democrat, over and over and over again, because people aren't thinking down ballot, they're just voting for him. I want to talk about his poll. Now, he didn't make anything more specific than it's a poll. Yeah. And a poll, it's a really powerful determiner of who's going to win elections, a poll. Let's read some other polls. This is the YouGov poll from The Economist. Black voters, Clinton versus Trump. 83 Clinton, Trump 4. Let's go to Florida. NBC News, Wall Street Journal. That is a multiple of 20. I mean, 4 divided into 20. Sure. That may be what he meant. ABC News, Wall Street Journal, Marist. Likely black voters in Florida. 92 Clinton, Trump 2. 2%. Let's now go to NBC, Wall Street Journal, Marist in North Carolina. Clinton 95, Trump 2.
See, I just don't understand who the 2% are. Right? Who are the people who are still deciding, you know what, I know what he said about Mexicans, I know what he says about women, I know the KKK is with him.
Right.
I don't know. Well, I'm kind of
about me is what is probably what the 2% are thinking.
I have some interesting stats because I've been trying to figure out who these people are. And some of the interesting stats that I look at, it appears that Donald Trump is going after the same part of the black electorate that Richard Nixon did. So they're saying, for example, and these are like real studies, that most of these people are men. They are working class to lower middle class, above the age of 35. Feel that Hillary Clinton is the enemy because of her husband's policies on the crime bill, and they do not, and they believe that financial success is tied to hard work, which I mean everyone believes that, everyone understands that. So it's, and they also apparently like this hyper masculinity tone of Donald Trump, and so, but it's pretty interesting because if this is the same part of the electorate that liked Richard Nixon, we have to remember that Richard Nixon is the first president to institute affirmative action in federal government contracting. He endorsed the Equal Rights Amendment. Donald Trump would never do that.
His administration sued Fred Trump and Donald Trump for housing discrimination because they wouldn't rent to black people in New York City.
I'm not surprised if there are African Americans who would be for the Republican nominee. And I'm not surprised, and I know some of them who were open-minded about Donald Trump the day he came down the escalator. Like, that's an interesting idea. But over the course of the last, how long has it been? 35 years?
11 years.
Over the course of the last months, a year and a half, you know, most of those people have come off of that. I mean, I don't know very many people who would be inclined to vote for a Republican who would vote for this particular.
Well, but I wonder, Jonathan, because as somebody who writes for one of the evil newspapers of the left, right, which is what a lot of, quite frankly, conservatives who are for Donald Trump don't trust newspapers like the Washington Post. So if you write, for instance, that Donald Trump was sued for housing discrimination, or said out of his own mouth that he thought blacks were inherently lazy, or that he didn't want black people counting his money, these things are easily searchable, but they're in the kind of media that maybe Trump supporters don't even...
They don't go to. Well, this gets to the larger issue of trust and how there no longer is any trust in any of the institutions that used to make sure that people understood, like, this is real, this is factual, this is what you should pay attention to. And so the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, we could do all the reporting in the world. Dave Fahrenthold, my colleague at the Washington Post, has been doing amazing reporting, just totally debunking Donald Trump's assertion that he is this great philanthropist, and not with, you know, spooky polls or hearsay, but calling individual organizations and asking the question, have you gotten any money? No, you haven't. Have you gotten any money? Yes, we have, $12. And laying it out there, and yet the people who support Donald Trump look at that stuff, if they do, and they don't believe it, they don't trust it, and it's because overall they don't trust the media. So as much as we can put out,
or government,
or anything.
Yeah. And the one other thing too that I've noticed when I hear people, you know, talk who support Donald Trump, they say, "Oh, he doesn't mean anything that he says." That's always a big thing. They're like, "Oh, he's never going to do that. He's not going to build a wall. Oh, he's not going to ban Muslims. He's just saying it. That's just part of his personality. It's not. He's actually not going to do that." And they also say he's going to bring smart people into his administration. So therefore,
like Rudy Giuliani. So here's my question, because I joke about Giuliani because I lived here when he was mayor, and black people despise him. And I wonder about your question about who people trust. Sheriff David Clark, who represents an institution that Black Lives Matter is actively inveighing against in terms of not respecting the lives of black civilians, unarmed civilians, is a sheriff, a former mayor who still promotes stop and frisk, right? Somebody who is actively negative toward African Americans. I'll just put it that way for Rudy Giuliani. Why are these the people that Donald Trump is using to sell African Americans on his candidacy?
Again, so there was fantastic reporting on this in the Atlantic, and one of the things, again, I hate to draw the parallel, but it's there. You know, it looks like after the 60s, after John F. Kennedy and LBJ, the country saw a backlash by white Americans who were just like, no more civil rights legislation, no more civil rights talk whatsoever. And we're seeing the same thing again on the heels of Barack Obama, and like Nixon, Trump is evoking this image of, you know, I'm going to be the strong law and order candidate, and it's the same thing that Dave Clark has done. And the thing that is really dangerous about this, in a very perverse way, these African Americans that support Donald Trump feel the same way about the country as the uneducated or, people with a high school degree or lower whites that support Donald Trump. They feel that the country has completely forgot about them. They have no voice. Government has done nothing to make their lives better. And why not try
So in their defense,
something different?
in their defense, what I will say is this: even the Democratic Party does not do as well a job as it needs to going into these communities and actually having a message about the real problems they face and real solutions to solve those problems. And I think both parties have to take a wake-up call from the Bernie Sanders voters and the Donald Trump voters that we ain't doing something right in the elite.
There's a piece in the New York Times Magazine out tomorrow. I can't remember the name of the author of that piece, but saying if there's one positive thing to come out of the Trump campaign, is that he's focused in on the fact that Democrats, or government in particular, hasn't done what it's promised it would do for the African American community. And so it is not unreasonable for African Americans, when Donald Trump says, what the hell do you have to lose, to at least give it an ear, but also to then realize you got a whole lot to lose.
Absolutely correct. I was going to say, the thing that Donald Trump has done is actually tap into fear, into people's fear, and he's taken that and kind of twisted around into something really hateful and ugly, right? I think that that's the difference between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders was like the populist. He talked about inequality. He talked about issues that really mattered. He really moved millennials, as we know. But Donald Trump really just kind of hammered home this fear and this ugliness and ran with it.
It's not just fear, in my opinion. I mean, I feel like racism has become so much more powerful and overt since President Obama was elected. It was always simmering on the top, and by saying, get rid of all this PC language, he's given people license not only to be completely not PC, but to be overtly racist and proud of it.
And then amplified by social media.
So, and really quick, we're just going to do a quick round robin. Yes or no, we are out of time. If Donald Trump had come out when he first started running for president and stuck to a message that was just trade and economics, trade and jobs, would he have had a shot at getting some of the African American vote? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, until all the tape came out about grabbing things and talking to women.
Yeah, so it would have gone down.
Yes.
Some of it.
Some of it.
His problems with women.
Would not stand for that.
I was going to say, his problems with women. And remember, the black community, we love our churches.
Yes, and the voters are black women. All right, well, I will end by reminding people that Sheriff David Clarke is an elected official. If you're not happy with the things that he says and the way he's representing you, you have a choice in the Democratic primary in 2018. Michelle, Karine, and Jonathan are sticking around. Thank you very much, Jamal Simmons. Great to see you. All right, and up.
Get Super Coon out of there in 2018. If there's enough black people that vote against his ass, hopefully he won't make it. But this was a great segment.